Welcome back. In the studio with us now is Rick Shanklin, who is a warning coordination meteorologist with the National Weather Service out of Paducah, Kentucky. Rick, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here today.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, something that we're going to be talking about, we're going to focus on the fall severe weather season. I really didn't know we had a fall severe weather season, but I guess we do. So let's begin. What is the length of that season, and what are the potential hazards that we're going to be dealing with?
Yeah, well, September is when the season starts.
Okay.
Toward the end of September, we generally say we had a F4 tornado, a violent tornado, September 23rd. So I've always thought of that as kind of the beginning of our fall severe weather season, around that time of year. But it certainly extends through October and at least the first half of November.
Okay.
It really starts winding down around Thanksgiving, toward the end of November, and then we actually reach a lull. December is our least tornado-prone month of the year in this region.
So what potential weather could we have in that fall season?
Yeah, there are several things that we have to be concerned about that time of the year. Certainly tornado activity increases, and that's a result of the wind fields increasing as we go through the fall season.
Okay.
We also have more robust weather systems that are moving across the area, and that all comes into play with an increase in severe weather. We have low pressure systems get more active.
Okay.
That can bring up more moist air from the Gulf of Mexico and all, and that really comes into play. So tornadoes, any of the offsprings of severe thunderstorms, tornadoes, damaging straight line thunderstorm winds, hail, can occur. We also have to have some concern too about the remnants of hurricanes. As we experienced in September of 2008, we had the remnants of Ike move across our region. We had winds recorded up to 100 miles an hour right here in this region with Hurricane Ike. So we have that concern. We also have, of course, a heavy rain concern from hurricane remnants, and that tends to diminish as we go through October and get into November, but certainly earlier in the fall we have to be on the watch for those type systems as well.
You know, I remember when that hurricane came through. Of course, it took down two 100-foot hackberry trees that I had in my backyard, and thank goodness the wind was blowing from the south to the north. Otherwise, my house would have been completely wiped out, most likely. I was actually standing out on the porch when those trees snapped and went down, and it was extremely frightening. But I can't even imagine us being that far away from that hurricane and those type winds, what it must have been like to be in that hurricane. I mean, it's almost unimaginable. Listen, many people know about the weather spotter training you and your colleagues do at times. How important are these spotters to you and what you all do?
Yeah, they're really critically important for severe weather. They are the eyes and the ears of the National Weather Service. You know, we have all the technologies, and they're great. They really help us out tremendously, including the Doppler radar. But if you think about it, we really don't know what's occurring. We're looking at data. We don't actually know what's occurring until we get the reports from the spotters.
Okay.
They're very important for that reason, but there's another reason they're extremely important. And through some of the social science studies we've done, we find that people are more likely to respond to our warnings if there's actually a report to go along with the warning. So that's something we always stress to our spotters when we do our training, is that we need your reports, even if we've already got the most perfect tornado warning out or severe thunderstorm warning out that we could have. We still need your reports to reinforce that this is a dangerous situation and people need to take shelter.
Okay. How, just out of curiosity, you may or may not know this, but how often do you do this spotter training, and where do you do it, or where can people find out when you're going to do the next one?
Yeah, we do them annually.
Okay.
We have two courses. We have one called Spotter Concepts. We have another that's our most advanced training. We call it Elite Spotter Training. All the training is free. The first course, Spotter Concepts, is about 2.5 hours. The Elite Spotter Training is more involved. It's about 4 hours in length. But we do those all across most counties in our region. We do those, certainly the larger cities, Owensboro, et cetera. We do the spotter training each year. We publicize those on our website at the National Weather Service, weather.gov/Paducah. Also, emergency management will typically advertise that through their websites, through their social media outlets. Some of the broadcast media may advertise those as well. So they're well advertised, and we try to start doing that at least a few weeks before the class occurs.
Okay, let's look at some common words that you meteorologists use that sometimes confuses me. But let's take a look at these. First one I want to know about is outlooks.
Yeah, outlooks is something, it's a forecast for a longer term. Generally, we do, for example, a hazardous weather outlook. That's to let everyone know of any type of hazardous weather we expect in the next week, whether it be snow, sleet, tornadoes, etc. So it's longer term. Our confidence level is less. We generally say 30% is what our confidence level is with an outlook. So it's longer range. Okay. And but if we see something major coming like the ice storm of '09, for example, we'll really hit it hard in that outlook.
Okay. Watches.
A watch means that conditions are favorable for whatever type of weather we're talking about. If it's a tornado watch for tornadoes, severe thunderstorm watch for large hail or damaging winds. Okay. It doesn't mean it's going to occur for sure, but the potential is there, so it's possible.
Okay. Warnings.
A warning means the event is imminent.
Okay.
Or it's already occurring. Maybe we know it's already occurring because we've gotten spotter reports from that event. So it's time to take action if a warning is issued.
Okay, I think that's where a lot of confusion, I know in my household, every time that it says a watch or a warning, my wife always asks, which one is the one that says we're probably going to get it? You know, there is a distinct difference there. What about advisories?
Kind of think of the advisory as the little brother of the warning. It's imminent or it's already occurring, but it's not as serious as the warning. For example, for thunderstorms, we issue a warning when we expect winds of about 60 miles an hour or hail an inch in diameter. But if we expect something a little less than that, but still very significant, we issue a thunderstorm advisory. Kind of the same thing with winter storms. There's winter storm advisory, winter storm warning for the more serious conditions.
Okay. Okay. So what is the outlook for this fall and winter? And I'm going to make you talk about this El Nino thing because I'm fascinated by that, but I know so little about it. So what's the forecast look like?
Yeah, it's well, in the near term, we think our temperature trends will go up through kind of the mid part of the fall season, and then start cooling off, more of a normal temperature trend, and then maybe an increase in precipitation as we go later into the fall toward winter. And then later in the winter, right now it's looking like a pretty normal winter temperature-wise. I say that with not a lot of confidence because there's so many factors that come into play as we get into winter. Not just El Nino, there's something called North Atlantic Oscillation. So we have both patterns with the sea surface temperatures and weather patterns both in the Pacific and the Atlantic that affect our weather, and that can really give us a roller coaster. But to answer your question about El Nino, which is fascinating, and it does have some profound effects on weather in parts of the country, like out in the West and the Gulf Coast states. For us, it's a little bit more hard to determine exactly what type of impacts we're going to have. We're sort of in the in-between zone, but what we do know, looking at past El Nino years in our region, it tends to be more active. That more active could be more snow and rain, or it could be more, severe weather.
Right.
We, of course, as we had January 3rd, 2000, we get severe weather in our part of the world too.
So what does El Nino actually mean? I think it has something to do with the temperature of the water.
It does. What it is a term to define the temperatures in the equatorial Pacific region. And the warmer those temperatures are, like now, we're in the El Nino pattern, and it doesn't seem like much. It's just about 3 degrees Celsius above the norm, but that's pretty significant. This is actually a fairly strong El Nino, and sea surface temperatures, there's a big interaction between the sea surface and our weather patterns, and those are enough that it can really influence weather patterns in the northern hemisphere.
Okay. As far as forecasting technology, I think it seems like we've come a long way. Can you give us some examples?
We have. That's really an exciting field as well. Of course, we had the Doppler radars installed a couple decades ago across our region. But a few years ago, we went to dual polarization. So the radar now not only samples in the horizontal when it sends out that way, but also in the vertical. And those two sampling techniques give us a lot more information for precipitation, in particular for forecasting heavy rainfall, hail for severe thunderstorms, the type of precipitation for winter events. And it also does something called tornado produces an algorithm called the tornado debris signature. If there is debris occurring, or if the radar detects debris from a tornado, that's a really good confirmation it's actually occurring. Now, the radar's not perfect. There's times there could be debris, especially a relatively weaker tornado, it may not pick up. But some very promising things with the Doppler radar, and our computer models have expanded greatly. For the computer-savvy people out there, our model computing capacity, October of 2015, goes to 5.7 petaflops.
Well, what is that?
I don't know. That's why I say for the computer-savvy people, not us. It's a tenfold increase for this year, so we're really excited about that. That will help us in all weather forecasting. Really do a better job, I think.
Okay. How can viewers get weather information? There's got to be a multitude of ways.
There is. There's more ways now than ever. It's almost confusing. It's like, which one do I go to? Of course, you have your conventional means, the broadcast media, radio, TV, etc. But now with the internet, of course, you got all these websites. You have people putting forecasts on Facebook, Twitter, etc. Those are all great ways. And, I just encourage people to find a source that they like. And a little secret is that really the information, most of it originates from us at the National Weather Service anyways, the weather models we were just talking about. So they're using generally the same base information, and they may put a little different flavor on it that you might like for your area. And then, of course, there's weather.gov, which we have our forecast that we generate that everybody uses, so you can go there. If you go just to weather.gov, you can click on anywhere in the country you want the forecast for on the map, and you'll get the forecast for that area.
And that's coming from the National Weather Service?
That is from the National Weather Service, yes.
Within their area, so.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And do you have a website there in Paducah?
We do. It's just weather.gov /Paducah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And all the weather forecast information is on there, climate information, some of the events we've been talking about, including like the January 3rd, 2000 tornado, the October 18th, 2007, which was another strong F3 tornado that occurred in Owensboro. We've got information on all those past events as well.
Okay. Well, Rick, we're about out of time, but thanks for joining me, and I definitely want you to stop in the next time you're in town. I'd like to have you back on the show because I've got many more questions I could probably ask, and we could talk about when it comes to weather. I think it's a very broad subject. So, but anyhow, thanks for joining me today.
Oh, my pleasure, and I'll be happy to stop by another time.
Okay. Listen, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you right back here in November. Have a great fall.